Hello, everybody. It's Day Drinking with David once again for a little bit of an early session. Coming at you with some excellent gin from the great state of Maine, Bimini. These are, of course, gin is the best of all breakfast drinks. And it's 10 o'clock, so we'll have a go. There is our friends from Bimini coming, Darren and Kristina, and I'm sure they're here soon. I hope everybody is well, and things are pretty wild out there these days. It's been a weird few weeks. We are closed again in California or something, but you can have your hair cut outside. That's pretty cool. I guess. I don't know. Is that cool or is that bad? I don't know. I'm confused. All right, Bimini's here. Let's go say hello. Here we go. They're coming to us from oh, there they are, right in front of the stills.
Hey.
Hey guys. Welcome. Sorry, let me just turn you up here. Thanks for joining. A nice early session on our end. You guys must just be ready for lunch or finishing lunch, I guess. Sorry. Kind of a new setup here, so I've got to reassess. How goes it?
Great.
It's all right.
Two sides of the coin. So it goes. I hear you're open for business. That's pretty cool. You have a tasting room rocking, huh?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. In Maine, we're sort of like half open. We have a bar license, but we can't serve drinks. So we sort of switched to an all retail model. So we've got bottles to go. We're doing little pre-mixed drink kits that people can buy and at home. And then just like galore. So
cool. Making it work.
Yeah,
that's
trying.
Our only option. I mean, unless you don't want to make it work, in which case, voila. Such is life. So tell me a little about Bimini. How'd you guys get into the gin business?
Yeah, we just turned 5 in June. So it was a very low anniversary with nothing happening. But yeah, both grew up in Maine, have been living down in New York for a while, and wanted to back up here home, be closer to our families. And we decided if we did, probably want to start our own business, just to, 180 from what we were doing down in the city. And so we looked to our hobbies, which were going out in Manhattan, eating and drinking. And so sort of narrowed that down to what would be an interesting thing to make. And we had really gotten into the craft cocktail culture down there and being introduced to more interesting or esoteric ingredients, having conversations about why they choose spirits or mixers, new and interesting flavors, and then started doing some research. Spent about a year and a half looking at stuff, figuring out the recipe, tinkering with a bunch of different botanicals in Mason, and then just eventually got it locked down enough to pull the trigger and open here.
Cool. Well, is Maine like, you don't get a whole lot of craft distillation. I know there's some great breweries, but we don't see a lot coming out of Maine on the spirit side. Are you sort of at the forefront of Maine, craft gin culture here, or is there a secret, group of small distillers all getting what do you call yourselves? Mainers?
Yeah, or maniacs, you can say.
Maniacs, great. That's great. That makes so much more sense. It's pretty far flung. People like Maine's like kind of far away from everything. It feels like, but I don't know. I've never been up there, or not since college, I guess. And I wonder what the drinking culture is like. You know,
Heavy.
heavy. Yeah, it's cold. Good.
Yeah,
That's good for business.
to maybe 20 distilleries in the state,
Oh wow. Okay, look at that.
and there are quite a few in fact here. It's uh, but I think the only big brand that basically is Pinnacle Vodka.
Is that
Uh,
made in Maine? No kidding.
it was, and
Ah,
then I think the team bought them or somebody, and then moved them somewhere else. Yeah,
yeah. I think it's Beam now. Or I didn't realize that started up there. No kidding. Well, that's an interesting little tidbit. I've never really been on the the Pinnacle train, but hey, man, they sell a lot of vodka. Who can fault them for that? So tell us about the name. Bimini is not a word I would associate with Maine typically. So yeah, tell us where you got that idea from.
sure.
Yeah.
The the whole concept that I think was the driving force from the beginning. The whole idea of what we wanted to do was this association between drinking gin and warm weather and being by the water. Because for us, growing up in Maine, our relationship to gin was very much based around summertime, being on the coast, outside in the sun, drinking a gin and tonic.
Mm.
How we and so we very much wanted our gin, uh, our idea of what the perfect gin would be.
Mm.
In addition to trying to come up with a flavor that really crisp and fresh, warm sunny day, we're also thinking about how a brand also have some of those connotations with the coast, with boats, with water. So it kind of the inspiration for calling it Bimini actually from two directions.
Mm.
First being that on a boat, they're called the Bimini top, which is essentially a cover that just the cockpit of the boat or where you steer from. So it's also, if you were tied up at dock having a cocktail after you've come in day of sailing, it's you'd probably be sitting underneath the Bimini having your gin and
Guys, I just want to stop you real quick. We're having a little audio issue. I'm wondering if it may be the echo in the room or something like that. Is it possible to maybe move a little closer to the microphone, or I'm not sure. It's kind of cutting out. Oh,
Sorry.
better.
oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
So the Bimini from the sailing term, okay, and the other reason, the other name. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The other book called Islands in Maine.
That made it worse, actually. Now you're gone. Hear you perfectly. The other two, every other word we're hearing from you guys. So, maybe it's a connection issue.
Are we back? Is that good?
Yeah, you sound good now.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. The other name was a book by Ernest Hemingway called Islands in the Stream.
Mm.
The premise of the book takes place in the 1930s, and it's a painter from New York escaping the scene house on the island of Bimini in the Bahamas, be able to just make his piece. But for us, the important thing, the main character is also a gin drinker, and in the Bahamas is drinking gin mixed with water from a green coconut and lime juice and Angostura bitters. And, for us, that created a whole different picture of how you imagine people drinking gin that really went along with the way we think about it. So we like to tie in to, not Bimini, the island itself, but the idea of Bimini via Ernest Hemingway's book, Islands in the Stream.
Cool. Okay. So Hemingway fans love gin from Maine, and here we are. And tell us a little bit about the products. I mean, the flagship, that's really what I fell in love with. You did a few things right here. I mean, obviously, it's a fun package. One thing I like about your gin is the proof. I think 47 is a really good place for gin to be. You see so many people being like, oh, I don't want to scare people away. And you're like, gin drinkers love booze. Like, you don't need to worry about that. So, tell me how you developed this recipe and what's actually in the bottle.
Yeah. There we were.
Oof, you're totally cutting out now. I'm wondering what could be the issue here. Maybe it's on my end. Is my sound kind of coming through on you here?
Yeah, we can hear you okay, yeah.
Uh-huh. I wonder what it is. Oh, well. We'll just power through. Oh, Kalina thinks she knows. What is it, Kalina? No? No. Oh, well. It's very odd. It's never happened like this before. Could be the echo in the room or something like that. Maybe is this your first the phone is Are you guys on a phone?
We are on a phone, yeah.
Hold the phone. Huh. Hold the phone.
Is it right?
Oh, nice and close.
My arms aren't super long, so.
Let me hold it.
Okay.
That actually seems to be working. Kalina might have the secret touch.
Anyway, yeah, so the original, thinking about the brand that we were trying to create and the experience we wanted to evoke with the product, we wanted the flavor profile to be a little bit lighter and brighter compared to a more dry or astringent style. We didn't want it to be too bitter, too bracing. So thinking about that is where we came in with some of the lighter ingredients, specifically the coriander, grapefruit, and hops that we use. Oh yeah, get it.
Hops.
Yeah.
Maine's a good beer drinking state, that's for sure.
We are, yeah, no, like we said before, there's about 20 distilleries, but over 100 breweries here.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea of the ratio. And so to complement those flavors, we wanted to have the proof itself be a little bit higher because of the oil content. So we don't chill filter the gin, so you will see a significant lushing effect if it's chilled or diluted. And that's just all the extra botanical oils in there. We worked really hard to get them in. We have a very delicate, deliberate distillation method. And so spending, 14 hours, 16 hours in front of the still, we don't want to then just strip out everything we've collected and throw it away. So.
And tell us what that, I agree. Tell us what that method is. You're steeping in baskets, or I remember you've told me several times, but just for the people.
Of course. So we do a multi-day maceration. First, we mill all the botanicals by hand. We have a little homebrew rolling mill that we power with a drill. And so we mill all of our botanicals by hand and then let them steep in alcohol solution for 3 to 5 days, depending on which botanical it is. So we've actually split them into 2 different batches because we found in our test distillations that the sort of core flavors we were trying to capture started to come through at different volatilities. Yeah. And so the overlap wasn't totally consistent with some. And so we actually do 2 separate distillations that we then blend together at the end.
Hmm.
So it just gives us really tight control over the temperature and what we're collecting at those temperatures.
And the base spirit is a neutral corn or wheat?
It is, yeah. Neutral corn spirit, non-GMO, in the heartland.
Yeah.
We chose that on purpose. It wasn't just like the easy way out. We had originally come up with our botanical blend, like I said, in our apartment in New York. And our neighborhood in Brooklyn had a large Polish population, and all of the corner liquor stores sold this rectified spirit that was traditional. In the holidays, they'd steep stone fruit in it or something before to give. And so for us, that was the base we were starting with. And so having dialed in the exact flavor we wanted for the original gin, the idea of starting over with a base spirit that we were producing ourselves, we weren't sure we could get the same quality or neutrality from that. And for us, it was all about the botanical flavor. So for us, we wanted a really high quality alcohol, but we didn't necessarily need that to have any of its own characteristics. And so for us, the corn neutral spirit, it's a high enough quality. It's always going to be consistent. That's another thing that we were really concerned about. We want our product to be the same and as delicious every time. So.
Great. Well, it is delicious. It smells awesome. I'm drinking with my dog now, but hopefully someone here, just me and Rye here. Really heady on the nose, but and what I love about this is that you've got incredible balance on the palate as compared to the nose. Great sweetness up front, as you said, no astringency.
Thank you. Yeah,
it does evoke summer for sure. It's very much has a seasonal feel to it. I imagine sometimes on a cold winter night in Maine, that's exactly what you want to do is evoke summer, and then in the same sense, might as well double down on it when you're at the beach. So
yeah.
This is your next product, and personally, I think one of the most interesting gins on the market. There's a whole host of barrel-aged gins everybody knows. And some of them are juniper-y whiskey, some of them are oaky gin. But this is really its own thing. And you guys have done some. I'd love to hear the story about how you sort of thought this up, or if it just came in a dream, or what it was. Because it's a pretty interesting and intriguing product.
Well, thank you. It wasn't too mystical. No, we had wanted to expand our product offering. We'd had the original gin for like 3.5 years or so, and we thought it was time to sort of tackle the next project. And so thinking about a barrel-aged version or barrel-rested version, legally you can't age gin, fun fact. We had wanted to have a sort of cold weather version is what we were thinking about. We also really wanted to protect the integrity of the botanicals because, as you say, a lot of them just come out as sort of strange young whiskeys or I don't know, something that has a little bit of an off flavor to it. So the way that we approached it was how can we add the sort of smoother caramel components of the barrel aging, but still protect the integrity of the botanicals and have it still very much read as gin and enhance those. And so Darren had the idea to split up the different types of barrels that we use, and we actually use a blend of 3 ex-bourbon. One had an apple brandy, one had a rum, and then one had sea salt after that. So we always were able to pull out different sort of flavor additions in a way, just hints. A little bit of tree fruit, a little bit of caramel, vanilla, a little bit of a deeper molasses too.
Who was like, oh, I got a barrel of salt. Why don't we try that? Like, where did that come from? That's nuts. I mean,
enough, this cooperage like 20 minutes away.
We've been filling these barrels with salt because, I mean, where else do you put your salt?
You gotta, I don't know.
That's great.
But yeah, we were excited to find that one because it has a really nice salinity, helps cut back any sweetness that might be a little bit too strong with, the grain sweetness that's already there, in addition to the rum and the brandy and the bourbon, having it be a little bit too sweet. It helps brighten that up, sort of cut it a little bit. And then also salt with grapefruit is delicious. Anyone's ever had a plum, they know what I'm talking about. But
it is really delicious. I mean, I don't drink a lot of gin straight, but this is right in that sort of range where you could be like, oh yeah, I could see like just sipping on this if you were feeling lazy and didn't want to do much more to it, or with a cube. I really do enjoy that product, and I think a lot of people, you know, it's a bit of a bummer because it's really hard to get an understanding of what is actually in the bottle here, because of course it doesn't say salt on the front. No. You know, because people are like, a salt barrel. I mean, I don't know if the TTB had a problem with that, or if you guys
they did.
That's classic. But you know, so it takes a little bit of coaxing to let people know what's actually in here. I mean, the front says finished in bourbon, brandy, and rum, which of course is accurate, but it doesn't tell the entire story. So hopefully people will pick this up and realize that this is something really unique and unusual, and still ginny, even though it's barrel rested. How long are you in the barrel here?
3 months.
Yeah, so rested is the proper term.
We do. We wanted to do a shorter resting at a higher proof, so we actually put them in the barrels at still strength. We don't dilute it first. And
what is that strength?
180, 175. Yeah, depending on the batch we get. And so the idea behind that, and also using the twice used barrels, was we wanted to make sure, again, to protect the botanical qualities. You still get all of those flavors in the gin. It hasn't been, you know, muted or, you know, essentially charcoal filtered away. And so having twice used barrels, the char and the vanillins have been pretty exhausted. You still get a little bit of it, but it doesn't happen as quickly, and it's not as strong. And so having a shorter time at a higher proof allows that exchange to happen a little more rapidly, a little more aggressively. And so we're able to protect all the oils in that process. It's sort of the right kind of window for that.
Did you guys experiment at different proofs, or were you just like, no, this feels right, and it just worked out? Because of course, you know, oak and stuff are soluble, and different chemicals in the oak are soluble at different alcohol levels, and water, of course, is also a component there. So I applaud you, but I wonder what was the process on it. It was just sort of a guessing game.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. You don't. Yes. Well, listen, it works. It's working for me. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really fun product, and hopefully, you know, people will watch this and understand a little bit more about what's there. And then your last one is the overproof.
Yeah.
The big boy, which you know, does the trick when you need it to. I assume this is just the classic recipe at higher proof, or have you tweaked things a little?
Exactly. And it's also unfiltered, but Darren's going to take over here.
Okay, cool.
From the very beginning, when we started making the first gin, the regular gin, because we're doing a multi-day maceration, and because of the way we approach the distillation, we have a very, very high oil content from the botanical extraction. So as a result, when we first started experimenting with the proof levels for the original gin, we found that even at room temperature, it was hazing because of the oils. So in order to remove the haze, after experimenting with a bunch of different methods, we ended up doing like kind of a light room temperature filtration. Was enough to keep it clear in the bottle down to maybe 65 degrees Fahrenheit. But it was such a bummer because, you know, in the process, if we're taking out any amount of oil, it means we're taking out some of the flavor. So being able to do the overproof meant being able to bottle completely unfiltered distillate, because at 111 proof, all of those oils are fully dissolved in the ethanol. And it's not going to haze even as you start to chill down the bottle. So you get just fuller flavors, but then in addition to a fuller flavor, it's also a slightly different flavor balance. Because even that light filtration strips out some of the oils more than others. So you get a little bit more of a robust juniper note, a little bit more of the hops, maybe a little bit more of the chamomile. So it's just sort of a amped up version of the flavors of the original gin.
Well, and of course, if you add water to it, that doesn't change it back to the original profile. And it's really striking how different they are, because it's that piney juniper, that hop, as you said, thing is really, really forward. Less on the nose than I would expect, but I'm sure that opens up with a drop of water. But on the palate, it just right down the middle, and you're like, oh, yeah, I see the hops here. Whereas here, they're more, integrated around the grapefruit. You're highlighting more of the fruity, citrusy hop notes. And so you're not like, it's not just, oh, for sure, there are hops in this. If of course, because hops and juniper have some crossover in flavor, as does the citrus, and so where this is more linear and of course powerful. Beyond just the proof, you also get that oily texture, which is unique, I think, across the three products.
We also we found from the very beginning that the flavor profile of our gin was very conducive to a lot of tropical flavors, and sort of lent itself well to tiki style drinks.
Gin for tiki drinks, cool.
Yeah, and tiki drinks typically have so many different ingredients. Every ingredient really needs to pack a punch. So that was the other benefit to having the overproof version of our gin, was that it would work really well in those types of drink specs.
Good stuff. Well, it's a great lineup. We're loving it out here in California, and I'm sad we don't get to be together. I wonder if you could just take us briefly around your facility to show us how you do things. I'm sure it's relatively small, but we'd love to just take a look around, and if you can show us whatever you can show us without losing the internet connection would be great.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to get started? I'll turn on the lights.
Sure. I'll switch cameras here. So we were just set up. This is our main production space here. So this is our still. It's Maine made by Trident Stills.
Cool.
So it's a little bit different than some other setups. Again, talking about our production style, we use a packed column rather than a pot still or plate column. And what that does is all of that surface area really helps to pull apart the different volatilities, which helps us pull out those specific flavor compounds.
So that column is packed with copper
mesh.
Copper mesh.
Like big old cinnamon rolls of copper mesh. Cool. So it's a nice hammered copper. But coming around here, this is our new-ish warehousing. Took this on a little while ago. You can see all our. We actually keep all of our stillage left over from our production in these IBC totes. And then we actually take them to a biodigester who makes electricity out of them. So it's not, there's no waste.
No waste. That. Yeah, you don't want to dump that out. Tons of energy there, even if it tastes like junk.
So then you can see
are those barrels back there? Are you aging right in that room?
We are, yeah. They're
look at that.
Yep.
Great.
More BR1 coming at you in October.
Nice.
So then we have just some small storage of pallets here. We don't, like I said, we're very, very small scale. I think Kalina had wanted us to talk about this. The two of us make everything ourselves. It's just the two of us here. We're the only, production employees. And even now, at our tasting room, I'm working shifts there again just to, keep things going. But
Yeah.
flip this back around here. So this is our tasting room, which normally is much more cheerful, but so yeah, we've changed the setup here. We're open 6 nights a week for cocktails, but we had to shut down back in March,
Right.
and so since then we've changed to a retail only model. So we have a bunch of very fancy IKEA shelves here, with anything you could ever need. This is palm tree ring game that I made out of plywood to take to a trade show. Yeah, and this.
Cool.
Yeah, there's not.
Well,
I don't know. We are very small. We're only about 3,000 square feet altogether, the entire space.
Get a lot done then. Well, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool that you guys are still able to function even in a different capacity there. What's like the vibe like there in the city? Are people just drinking tons of gin right now? That's sort of like everybody's on our end is just hammering the gin, and I don't know how much Campari I sell a week. It's just nuts because people.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's doing great. Actually, the town that we're in, Biddeford, it's an old mill town, and that's where we are. Distillery is in the old textile mill right on the river.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
it's like 1 million square feet altogether. So it's a huge complex, like 12 different buildings. It's really cool. But yeah, Biddeford, there's so much influx of new talent and businesses and residents that we're actually the youngest city in Maine now, which is saying something because I think our median age is like 50. So, yeah.
Not so young, but the youngest.
Or for the whole state, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really a great town to be in. We're glad to be sort of part of revitalizing the mill buildings and bringing downtown back to life. There's a lot of vacancies that are being filled by small businesses, and it's a cool little spot here.
Yeah, I think part of the key to survival for a lot of craft distillers is having a good community around them. Obviously, you got to have good products, but I do respect that, and that it's cool to see that people are coming out and drinking your gin. Well, let me thank you for your time. This has been so fun, and the gins are so delicious. We're really happy to have them on the shelf. Can I ask anybody who's here, do you guys have any questions for the Bimini crew before we say goodbye? I think most people are finishing up their morning meetings and sneakily checking their Insta. Yeah, it looks like everybody's happy with what they've heard. This was so fun. Kristina, thanks. Great seeing you again.
Yeah,
hopefully next time it will be either at your place or mine. And Darren, it's great to electronically meet you, and stay safe, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. You too, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ciao.